Yeah, man, Scotland Yard. Yeah, don't play no game.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel once again. Kindly for watching me for the first time. Please remember to subscribe, like, and also comment. To my returning viewers, thank you so much for love. Thank you so much for support, for always coming back and watching my video. Greetings to my brothers and sisters all the way from the Caribbean country. So guys, did you know that Scotland, a country famous for barkeepers, for kids and a whisk, has a hidden connection between Jamaica? This is a surprise for many of you because we have just seen a comparison, maybe hidden history between majority of the Africa and Jamaica, but Scotland. So before I dive in, let's watch this video until the end, then I come back with more comment. I'm your host, Team Global. If you remember to give this video a thumbs up, and all full credit goes to original creators of these videos.
Yes, let's talk about the connection between Jamaica and Scotland. So when Jamaica gained independence in 1962, they were faced with the big question of how were they going to represent their flag? So this was the first design that Jamaica was considering making their flag, which I'm honestly glad they didn't. They had the meanings down, which was black representing the strength and creativity of the Jamaicans, which helped them overcome difficulties, the gold representing the wealth of the country and also the sunshine, and the green representing the vegetation and also the hope. Eventually, this man, Reverend William McGee, was on a missionary trip to Jamaica when he met up with the Prime Minister and he said, "Hey lad, you should design your flag based off Scotland's." So that's why, because of inspiration from Scotland, Jamaica became the second nation to feature the St. Andrew's Cross on their flag. Thank you.
A Jamaican serial killer? Oh my God. Louis Hutchinson, a Scottish immigrant to Jamaica, was the first recorded serial killer in Jamaica's history and one of its most prolific. Edinburgh Castle in Pedro District, St. Anne, was built by Louis Hutchinson, who is Jamaica's earliest recorded serial killer. Hutchinson, a Scottish doctor, came to Jamaica in the 1760s. Hutchinson, also known as the Mad Doctor, with a single shot would kill any lone passerby. He would then force his slaves to throw the body of his victim in a sinkhole located on the property. In his worst dementia, he would invite his victims to his castle, where they would be entertained before being killed. After a time, the doctor seemed to have become more daring as he shot his neighbor and a soldier in full view of a white colonist. The Mad Doctor tried to make good his escape on a ship about to set sail. However, he was captured, tried, and hanged at the Spanish Town gallows in 1773. Not long after Hutchinson's arrival, cases of travelers disappearing without a trace began to mount in number, and suspicions ran rampant, but no one could ever have suspected the level of torture they experienced. Travelers would occasionally stop to rest at Edinburgh Castle, the only inhabited spot for miles, on the way from St. Anne's Bay, not knowing that they would become the target of Hutchinson's unerring aim. Hutchinson killed for sport, not money, as travelers of all shapes, sizes, and income levels were equal game. It is said that he fed off the flow of blood and often dismembered his victims and left them in the hollow trunk of a cotton tree, a sinkhole, for the vultures to carry on where he left off. The hole became known as Hutchinson's Hole. Hutchinson's slaves added their own tales of mistreatment, and his reputation for evildoing became legend. In fact, his reputation for villainy was such that no one wanted to go near him if they could avoid it. Eventually, a young English soldier, John Calendar, set out to bring Hutchinson in. Hutchinson calmly shot him on sight, but he was eventually captured by the Navy led by Admiral Rodney. After his capture, Edinburgh Castle was searched and clothing said to have belonged to his victims were found. Hutchinson's slaves broke their silence, detailing crime after crime. He is believed to have committed multiple murders, but was only tried for the murder of John Calendar. But they also discovered that Hutchinson didn't act alone. In fact, he had help from neighboring planters. And though he pled not guilty, Hutchinson was eventually convicted and hanged in Spanish Town.
Have you ever realised that the Jamaican flag, yeah? Imagine you eliminate the green, the black, the yellow, just the shape, yeah? And that's blue. It's the Scottish flag. Jamaica. Scotland. What? Imagine if people in Jamaica talked with a Scottish accent but spoke with Jamaican lingo. Wagwan, me brethren. You little bumper clat. Yeah, man, let's have a little bit of rum.
So recently, thanks to 23andMe, I found out that I have relatives in Jamaica. And I'm like the least Jamaican looking person in the world, so I decided to look into the links between Scotland and Jamaica. So the first dates from 1656, when Oliver Cromwell banished 1,200 Scots to Jamaica. The English had a colony there. And the Scottish immigrants generally took up posts as servants to the English. And criminals were also exiled there. And later on in the 17th century, some people who had gone to colonise the Darien jungle, which I've done a video on, also arrived in Jamaica. The first wave of Scots to the island were sold as servants to the English. And interestingly, Campbell is the most common surname on Jamaica. And it's thought the first Campbell on the island was Colonel John Campbell. He had also been on the failed Darien jungle mission, and he decided to settle in Jamaica and set up a sugar plantation. During the 18th and 19th centuries, a lot of sugar plantation owners and overseers were Scottish. Not quite so good a link. And Glasgow was a large importer of slave-produced sugar. And by the early 19th century, over half of Scotland's linen was sent to the Caribbean to clothe the slaves and the owners. So my relatives might have been servants or criminals or people who were involved in slavery. But it's important to remember these things did happen. Ooh, I also went to Jamaica on my honeymoon. It was lovely.
I know this will come as a shock to you, but the reason why one of the main streets of this city is called Jamaica Street is not to pay homage to reggae music and beautiful Caribbean beaches. Despite the common narrative of Scotland being the underdog minding its own business while England does its thing, every single monument and historical building in this city was built with its slavery money. Historically, Scotland, and more specifically Glasgow, are neck deep into what the wealthy families of this area still politely refer to as cargo shipping. What kind of cargo, you may ask? Guess. Unlike in the US or in Brazil, the UK never had a slave labour industry on its mainland, so it's easy for Britain to pretend like we don't see it. But in Glasgow, there are some hints. Yeah, the colonial past is everywhere, and walking in Glasgow constantly reminds you that money been here. Yet today, Glasgow might have a very working class reputation, but historically, it's got money. And in Scotland, like in the rest of the imperial core, money meant power, meant white supremacy. To every colonial empire, education is an organ of propaganda and subjugation. And yet, if you would ask the University of Glasgow about slavery, up until 2018, all they will tell you is boast about the university's involvement in the emancipation and abolition movement. And that's it. It took a student's research in 2018 for the University of Glasgow to grapple with its involvement and the many ways in which it benefited from slavery. As Severin Carroll wrote in The Guardian, one of the former rectors of the University of Glasgow was Robert Cunningham Graham, who spent 2 decades making his fortune as a plantation owner and slaver. Yeah, it turns out all that money didn't come from whiskey and haggis. Who would have thunk? Private, with my ancestors' money? I don't think so. I'm getting what's mine. To their credit, though, the University of Glasgow was the first in the UK to officially acknowledge its involvement and to publish a report estimating that they benefited financially from the profits of slavery to the sum of £200 million. And their first step is to pay £20 million in reparations towards the Joint Centre for Development and Research with the University of the West Indies. Now, is it enough? No, but it's better than nothing, I guess. The university research estimates that the total reparation owed to black people is $12 trillion US. That's a lot of money. Now, I don't know if that also covers the debt to Haiti and Congo, but if you add to that the hundreds of billions that the same colonial powers will have to pay to watermelon people, that's
Jamaicans have a Scottish accent. A lot of Scottish people migrated to the Caribbean and to Jamaica. Maybe it's why everybody be sounding the same, but it really does sound the same. A lot of Jamaicans will have Levi as well in their name or as their name. Just like in Scotland, everybody's named Levi or Cohen. And the similarities that you see on every continent, especially the islands, man. so real when you look at it from a Hebraic perspective. Because the term or the word race didn't exist until after the 1500s. This is how they've divided the people, which enhanced their slavery mechanisms. They were able to divide and separate you, making you think that because you're one skin color, you can't be related to that person because it's a different skin color. We don't know that until we leave America. But you got white Jamaicans, so to speak, and you got black Jamaicans. You also have Asian Jamaicans, so to speak. Now remember that Israel is not just one race or peoples. Israel equals all of the races. There were 12 tribes, remember that, Pete. Now here's one to go ahead and think about. Khan equals king/priest in Hebrew. This is why you have Jamaican, Puerto Rican, American, Mexican. It's why you also have the East Indies and the West Indies. The East indigenous people and the West indigenous people. You also have different Egypts and different Ethiopias. And America was the old world that the history didn't start in 1492. USA, Jerusalem. When Columbus came here, he was looking for the holy city or holy land. The majority of everything we've been taught about history has been a lie, and the largest pyramid in the world is located in Cholula, Mexico. And that's a whole matrix in itself. So remember, you are a peculiar people, a royal priesthood. This is why you have Jah and Yah on every continent. If it's not Jah in Jamaica, remember that J didn't really exist until the 1600s, which attaches Yahya in Puerto Rico to Jah or Yah. This is why the original names are so important, because it always brings you back to his grand, marvelous plan and light. So it's also why we ended up making y'all the Health Bible. Everything that you need, it's going to be in there. Jacob's link.
Welcome back to Fun Flag Facts number 2. So here's the flag of Scotland and here's the flag of Jamaica. They're very similar flags, and there's actually a cool story behind that. So before a battle between the Scottish and the Angles, there was actually, the sky had a cross in it. A white cross, of course, because it's the clouds. And they ended up winning the battle, and it just became a flag from then on. And as for Jamaica, the green symbolizes fields, the black symbolizes the barrenness before, and the yellow symbolizes the rays of sun. Before their modern flag, they actually had a tricolor, but that was changed after Scottish priests came over to Jamaica and suggested that they went with the cross design, same as Scotland's, just with different colors.
What's going on, people? This video is going to explore the colonial impact of Scotland on Jamaica. Here's that story. Outside of Scotland, Jamaica has the highest percentage of Scottish surnames. It's estimated that 60% of surnames in the Jamaica telephone directory are of Scottish origin. So pick up my Andersons, Campbells, Millers, Malcolms, Grants, Gordons, and many more. It's even believed that there are more Campbells per square acre in Jamaica than Scotland. Have a look at their national flags. Notice anything? They're the only two national flags to include the saltire, i.e. the St Andrew's Cross. Here's that story. Historically, the J flag looked like this. In 1962, as the time of independence approached, an initial design for the flag with 3 vertical stripes was deemed unsatisfactory. One oral story goes that Scottish Minister Reverend William Magee, who had become a friend of the then Prime Minister, suggested that the national flag should reflect Jamaica's status as a Christian country and have a cross on it. Legend has it he drew out the Scottish flag, substituting the blue and white of Scotland with the green, black and gold of the initial.
Have you ever wondered why the flag of Jamaica and the flag of Scotland both have a saltire layout? And of course there is a connection. Coming to its planned independence in 1962, coming up to their independence, they were designing a new flag, but there was a problem. The proposed flag that they had was too similar to the newly independent Tanzania. It was said at the time there was someone very high up in the committee that was dealing with the new flag design. He was writing to one of his friends, and his friend was a priest that lived in Scotland, and they were talking about this challenge they were having in Jamaica about the new flag. And the Scottish priest wrote him a letter, and he sketched out the design of the Scottish saltire flag that's above me here. And it was said that this apparently inspired the design and the layout of Jamaica's flag today.
My name is Brian Anthony Chisholm, Scottish last name, Chisholm. The name Chisholm came over to Jamaica in the colonial days in Jamaica. I lived in Scotland years gone by, in an area of Scotland where the Chisholm clan settled in the Highlands. I was the only black Chisholm in a 500-mile radius. Every night I go to the pubs there, I basically drink for free because the lads get the crack out of it. Every Chisholm that walked in the door, they point out the black Chisholm. It's brilliant.
Hello guys, welcome back. I hope you have just watched that full message from the connection between Jamaica and Scotland. It's a surprise for many of you, and I know we have such comparison between Jamaica and other countries, but this is just a special one because we have so many comparisons. But in Jamaica, I don't think that Jamaica is a diverse country. It has a lot of history. Many people came in Jamaica to help to shape its culture because it's just a small island, but it influenced so many people, and that's why you are just singing different kinds of the history. We have just seen the Indians and so many other history that is helped really to shape the culture. So Scottish really came in Jamaica in 17th centuries. That is a long time ago, and they became popular. They became part of the British Empire because we all know that the Jamaica were just colonized by the British. So Scottish really came out that year with a lot of doing the search. Majority of them, some of them came to them doing businesses, and other came to the in terms of the plantation. And you'll find that when these people really came in that Scottish, they did the sugar plantation, and we have just seen how the laborers were the black people. So majority of the Jamaicans, they were just the laborers, and remember these Jamaicans were just taken from Africa. So majority of them were taken from the West Africa. So they went as a slavery, but during the 17th century, that is the time that really Jamaicans, really Scottish, really came in Jamaica. And during the 18th century, they started really doing the farmers. They were based in sugar plantation, and after that, they settled in Montenegro Bay and Kingston. That is where these Scottish really settled that area. And after that, they had a prominent merchant. So they did a prominent Scottish merchant, and also they do the plant community. So they really had doing a lot of farms in those Jamaica. And also after that, after maybe doing for the laborer, for the black people, they don't rely on that. They help to shape it culture, because now they influence the architecture. Now when you go to Jamaica, you will find that culture of architecture, because these Scottish, they were the professionals. They were not like the other, they were just a profession. So they helped really to shape it in terms of the commerce and also governance. So Jamaica being the colony of the British, and Scotland being also the colony of the British Empire, so they help also in the governance, and that's why you find now in Jamaica we have such kind of the governance that is really there. And also they influence so many names, because in Jamaica we have these names. So if you are just have these names like the Campbell, like the Brown and Mackenzie, this is the name from the Scottish. So I've seen majority of the Jamaicans having such kind of name like the Campbell. Like we have such runners that called the Campbell, you have the Brown and Mackenzie. So those are the names from the Scottish. So the Scottish really influence such kind of names, and also these names are really common in Jamaica up to now. So if you are among these names of the Campbell, Brown and Mackenzie, just drop in comment section about these names. And also after that, we had also these Scotland. They really influenced Jamaica in Presbyterian church. It brought about the religion, and that's why you find Scottish churches in Presbyterian Congress. This is whereby it really also managed to influence such kind of churches. That's why you find those churches that is in Jamaica, they were just brought in by influenced by the Scottish. And in education, this also helped to shape the education. So this connection also helped to really shape the education in Jamaica. The establishment of the schools and churches which shaped the part of the Jamaica. That is how really this Scotland really helps to shape the Jamaica, and also have the music from the Scotland. So we had that music because as you have watched that full clips, you have just seen that guy from the Scotland. He said that there is a street in Scotland that is being named Jamaica. So this shows that really Jamaica and Scotland has the good terms, they have the strong relationship. So it also helped to have such having such kind of the churches, and also that's music. And we all know that the music of Jamaica really is a vibe. So that's also in Scotland. And also one thing that is really in common, and you have just witnessed, when you just look the flag of Jamaica, and when you compare those two flags, it's really resemble the same. When you just see those two flags, it looks similar, because the only difference within those two flags is only the color. So this shows that even in terms of flag, I know that Scottish really played a big role, because when you just mention the name like the governance, this is where also we had that flag. So this flag, I know that it was really influenced so much by that is my opinion, that is not the opinion from other, but according to me, what I'm seeing is that maybe that flag is also managed and also really having influence by the Scottish, because it looks the same. So guys, I want you to hear in comment section about this connection, and if you have the different opinion, you are free to share in this channel. This channel is just created for the discussion. It's not really maybe created for maybe spreading, it's just created for discussion. So if you have the other opinion, you can just share in comment section about that thing. And if you prove your message, because you have just seen that flag of Jamaica and Scotland, it's really looks similar, you cannot really differentiate. So that is my just opinion. And so let's interact more in comment section. I'm your host, Team Global. If you haven't subscribed in this channel, please remember to subscribe, like, and also comment. And to my returning viewers, I have to say thank you so much for always coming back and watching my video. And kindly remember to give this video also a thumbs up, and all full credit goes to the original creators of these clips. Bye for now, see you in the next one.